Arise, O women who have hearts. Whether our baptism is of water or of tears, say firmly, we will not have great questions be decided by irregular and stupid agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking of carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken away from us so that they unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of mercy, charity, and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too kind to the women of another country, to let our sons be trained to injure theirs. From the center of this devastated earth, a voice goes up along with ours, and it says, disarm. Disarm. That is from a Mother's Day proclamation. It was written in 1870, right after the American Civil War. And you would think that it applies just as much today, right? On March 20th, 2003, U.S. troops were deployed to Iraq, and the war started. It was the first war that I was living through as an adult and directly being affected by it. At that time, newspapers used to report all the casualties. So every morning, I would get up and read the LA Times in my nice little living room, and I would have my cup of coffee, and I would read these stories, and I would just cry. It seemed disrespectful for me to read that little piece of paper and then throw it away in a recycle bin. I couldn't throw away that picture of that Marine or that soldier, his name, the name of the high school that he went to. And I certainly couldn't throw away the picture of his mother holding the folded flag on her lap. I couldn't digest, how does a mother put her son on a bus and sends him off to war knowing she might never see him again, just like she's sending him off to a field trip? What was that last hug like? What was that last kiss? What did she whisper in his ear right before he got on that bus? And, you know, me being Greek and have this Greek tragedy thing in me, I got obsessed. So I reached into this bag of cutouts that I was saving for almost 2 years, and I started cold calling these mothers. Next thing I know, I have mothers from all over the country calling me, wanting to tell their stories, pleading with me to tell their stories. So I put a crew together, and I decided I was going to pick a red and a blue state because I thought politics is going to come into play. So I picked California and Texas. So we started going from home to home to home, recording these mothers' stories. I would walk into a home, and I would sit across from a woman that I just met 5 minutes ago, and we would bond from the first words that would escape her lips. She would share with me the most precious and intimate, sacred thing in the world to her, her child. That was such an honor. Here's a clip of Marie Bonilla saying goodbye to her son, Anthony, on his first tour to Iraq in 2006. He was 18 years old at the time.
Hey, let's go, get on. Okay. Watch out, run away.
Do your job well, okay? Come back in one piece. Look after your fellow Marines because they'll look after you.
I will.
God bless you, Anthony. I know it.
Take care, okay?
You take care, okay?
I will.
Watch after your boys, okay? Because they're gonna watch after you. Remember, you're not going there to die, okay?
Okay.
They wanted to talk. desperately. Some were very proud that their kids were going there and volunteering their service to fight for the country. Others were very angry that their kids were going to a war that they themselves did not approve of. Either way, they loved their children. They would put a happy face, and they would kiss them goodbye, and then hold their breath for an entire 6-month tour. Their entire lives would be put on hold, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I never really realized how long that is until I visited a family in Northern California. When I entered the house, the entire house was of an American flag. I walked in, and every wall had trinkets on it of the American flag. And then I go to the bathroom, and the shower curtain is an image of an American flag. The mat, the towels, the nightlight on the wall was that of an American flag. But that was not the most interesting thing. The most interesting thing to me was that their kitchen table, this huge kitchen table, had the map of Iraq on it, covered by this clear tablecloth. So this family would sit for 3 meals a day on top of this map, because their son was there. And the way they used it was, when they would hear from their son, and he would say, well, I'm in Fallujah today, they would go in there, and they would mark, where is Fallujah, and they would mark it. And then 2 days later, they might get an email that said, oh, I'm in Tikrit. So they would go, they would find where Tikrit is, and they would mark it. So they would track his every movement, because the TV was on 24 hours a day, and they would hear every bombing, every casualty that was going on. So they wanted to see, is he okay? Oh, something happened in Fallujah today? Okay, well, that's okay. He's in Tikrit. He's far away from it. Their entire day was this map. In this household, war was very present. Another mom from Texas, Houston, she would go to work every day, and when she'd get off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she would have to drive home. Except she would get to the intersection where she needed to make a left turn. And she couldn't bring herself to make a left turn. She would pull over, and her body would be shaking. And she would drink whiskey to try to gain enough strength to make the left turn. And the reason was, as soon as she would make the left turn, she could see her driveway. And she was so scared that when she turned, she might see one of those government-issued cars parked in her driveway with 2 Marines in it waiting for her to give her the bad news. In this mother's life, war was very present. So I interviewed mothers of all kinds, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Russian immigrants, Republican, Democrats. But all those differences between these women did not matter, because all these mothers had one voice. If they heard that one of them lost a son, they would mourn with the same intensity and heartbreak as if it was their own child. There was this extraordinary unity that bound these mothers together, whether they lived in a $5 million mansion or a trailer park. But what I want to share with you is the story of Vicky and Darlene. Vicky Castro, is from Corona, California. Her son Jonathan loves horses and builds his own cars. Joined the Army before 9/11, so in 2003, when everybody else was getting ready to be shipped there, he was supposed to be discharged. Well, they didn't let him out. They put him on stop loss. His unit is one of the first units that gets there. He's this brilliant young man who wants to learn about engineering, but when he gets there, he discovers that there are some big companies making a shitload of money from that war. Encourages his mother to dig around and find out what is going on. Vicky is set out to find everything she can for this unjust war, as she calls it. On December 21st, 2004, 4 days before Christmas, After pulling a 20-hour shift, Jonathan goes to eat in the mess hall on base where he's stationed in Mosul, Iraq, when a suicide bomber acting as an Iraqi security forces blows himself up in the mess hall and kills 22 people along with Jonathan. Here's her recollection of how she found out.
Shortly after noon yesterday, anti-Iraqi, anti-coalition forces attacked the dining facility located within the forward operating base Morez in Mosul.
Tuesday morning, the 21st, I got online on the internet and I saw that picture. And somewhere in here, I knew. And I said, no. No, it couldn't be. And I sat down right away and I sent an email. Are you all right? I know that's your base. I know that that was your mess tent. Are you all right? The whole day had gone by, and when these news reports are on, no news is good news, right? And so the whole day had gone by, and so I sent him another email. And I said, oh, Jonathan, 6 soldiers from Fort Lewis, you must be going crazy because they had to be your friends. You would have known them. I told him that I'd screamed and I'd cried, but nothing helped. And I just asked him again, are you all right? And as I pushed the send button, the doorbell rang. And my husband didn't hear it, and so I came downstairs to open the door, and there he was. They rang the bell, but then they stepped back a little bit, you know? And I opened the door to see this soldier standing there. And it's like a wave that just crashes over you, because you know he didn't have to say a word. If he was there for one reason. They regretfully inform you that your only child is gone.
She marches at every anti-war demonstration. She walks the streets with a huge poster board sign of Jonathan's face in front of her, and she just walks the streets. She has made it her life mission to speak out and to ask Americans to ask themselves, at what cost are we fighting this war? She publicly blamed Donald Rumsfeld for killing her only child. In her words, he was the Secretary of Defense. It was his job to secure an American base on foreign soil, and he failed. Darlene Guerin, is from San Diego, California, and she's from a military family, herself included. Her son, Corey, is a typical young man who loves surfing and barbecues. He was voted the most valuable player in his wrestling team. And after seeing the towers fall, he announces to his mother that, I am not going to let them screw with my generation, Mom. I'm going to join the Marines. And he does. He thrives as a Marine. He's a natural leader and calls her in the middle of the night, confirming that he's happy he's there, that he feels that him and his team are doing something significant, and that he will be a Marine no matter what. On July 15th, 2003, he's guarding one of the palaces in Babylon, Iraq, and falls to his death 60 feet down to the ground. He was 18 years old. Darlene, his mother, supports the war 100%. She voted for both President Bush, both terms. And this is a statement she made about people who were on the streets protesting the war, people like Vicky Castro. She said, you know, I was really angry at first at all those people protesting because it's like, wake up. Don't you realize there's a madman over there with his finger on the switch and you all guys are protesting? And then I realized, then I told myself, you know what? That's why we're all Americans. If they were in any other country, they probably would have been shot. Two women with very extreme, different beliefs, right? Cut to, in 2006, I finished my documentary. I had interviewed over 50 mothers across the country. We opening night at Northern California to 1,000 people in this theater. Half of them military families, and I was extremely nervous because my biggest goal when I started this documentary, I wanted to make sure that I represented all political and personal point of views and not pick a side. So I was really very anxious and wanting for the documentary to be well received. So the film is over, everybody comes out to the lobby, this huge lobby, and I see Vicky on one side, and I see Darlene on another. And then there was all this shoving and pushing and people talking, and I see these two women approach each other. They had just seen each other's story on the big screen. They had just met their sons on the big screen. So they approach each other, and they start embracing and crying loudly for what seemed like eternity. All I remember was that each one of their faces was in each other's neck, right over here, and they wouldn't let each other go. To me, that is peace. Nine years later, 2 months ago, I adapted the documentary to a stage play. We opened. And in opening night, Darlene and Vicky showed up with their husbands. They sat through the entire 65 minutes of the play, holding each other around their shoulders to assist and to help emotionally when they knew that the tough parts that were coming up was going to be difficult to watch. Their arms were not around each other's husbands, they were around each other. That, to me, is peace. These two women put their personal and political beliefs aside and united in the name of their sons. They respected each other's grief, and that respect brought acceptance into their hearts. You can't tell me that it's not peace. I would like to leave you with the last clip of Gloria Caldas from San Antonio, Texas. She's describing to me who she blames for her son's death, and I, from behind the camera, ask her, what will she say to the mother of her enemy?
The individual who pressed the button on the remote control that blew up my son's Humvee. That's who killed my child.
What would you say to the mother of that child?
I don't know. That's her child, too. I don't know.
That is peace. Thank you.